Hi, I'm Kerry Grinkmeyer. I'm a retired financial advisor. I was a CFP, a CHFC, and a CLU. I did it for a living, and the most common question that I was asked as a financial advisor was, how much is it going to take me to live in retirement? Well, that's a loaded question because there's a lot of variables, and the biggest variable is how much debt do you have? Are you still paying on a mortgage? Are you making a car payment? Do you have credit cards that you're paying on? I think the number one goal of anyone who plans to retire is to eliminate debt. Once you get out of debt, then you're in a position where you can manage your expenses based upon the lifestyle you want. I did some research, and Yahoo gives you the answer of 80% of what you required to live before you retired. And I think that gives you a ballpark number. I saw Google said that the average person needs $50,200 a year in income to survive retirement, and the average person lives 19.4 years. So the question comes, where is that 50,200? If you had asked me, I would have said somewhere in the neighborhood between 50 and 80,000. And again, it's dependent upon your lifestyle. Going back to Yahoo's number, 80% of what you had before retirement, I don't agree with that. I believe, particularly for the first 5 years, it's going to be every bit as much as what you were spending while you were working as you are in retirement. Because what you're going to find you're going to do is you're going to do all the things in retirement that you wished you could have done when you were working. And that is travel, that is entertainment, that is spending time with your grandchildren, going to spend time with your grandchildren. So you're going to spend more money, I think, in those first 5 years of retirement. So how do you structure this? Well, again, I would focus on that 50,000. The average person in the United States gets about $27,000 in Social Security a year, and that's a couple. Based on about 1,500 on the primary, 1,500 a month on the primary breadwinner, and then half of that for a non-working spouse. Now, if both spouses worked and contributed to Social Security, it could quite possibly be more than that 27,770 that I estimate a couple would make on an annual basis, and that goes up. You get little 1% and 2% raises. Out of that, they're going to take your Medicare, and so your actual take home will be a little bit less. And then the next element of that is your health. Because your Medicare is then you buy a supplement. Nita and I both use Blue Cross Blue Shield. I don't pay any more than what Medicare pays Blue Cross Blue Shield because I'm pretty healthy. I'm not taking any medication beyond my statin, which only costs something like $9 a month or $9 every 2 months. I don't know. Nita takes care of that. And then I take my MNN, which is my supplement that I believe gives me substantial energy. So again, it really depends on how you want to entertain yourself. Now, the first thing I would do, or I would suggest you do, is you get a side gig. And that side gig could be anything from being an Uber driver to a greeter at Walmart. But I would suggest you become an entrepreneur. I have discovered in my life, particularly after retirement, one of the first things I did was set up a separate tax entity. In my case, it was an LLC, a limited liability corporation. And why did I do that? Because it is exactly what it says it is. I knew that I was going to endeavor in something. And what I didn't want to do was start a business, whatever it was, whether it was flipping homes, whether it was real estate, whether it was a website, whether it was write a children's book and travel around the country trying to sell it at Christmas bazaars, that I could potentially put myself in a position where I would get sued. And what I didn't want was to put everything that I had accumulated prior to retirement in jeopardy through a lawsuit. And what a limited liability corporation is, okay, this is my corporation. Understand it when you engage with me that I am a limited liability corporation, and the extent of my assets that you can access if you win a suit against me is what's in that corporation. And then I basically move any monies out of that corporation into my personal life through my IRAs, through my solo 401ks. So I keep a minimum amount of money, whatever my endeavor is, exposed to lawsuits. Well, what might a lawsuit be? I right now run a YouTube channel, and I try to tell you and impress upon you that I'm not your financial advisor. So all I'm really doing is educating you and entertaining you. And so don't take my advice as hardcore financial advice. And the reason I say that is you could sue me. And anybody can sue anybody. And all it is getting a lawyer who will take the case against Carrie for what you thought was financial advice. I want to, and if you did that and I screwed up, and in fact, I did give you financial advice, you couldn't get to my house. You couldn't get to my savings accounts and to my brokerage accounts and anything that I own. You couldn't get to it because you were suing the limited liability corporation. Now, once you do that, then I strongly suggest look at your life and what's your passion. What is it you're really interested in? Would you really have liked to have been a professional bass fisherman? Well, go ahead and become that bass fisherman and find a way to monetize it. Find a way to say, okay, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to enter tournaments, and I'm going to take my spouse along with me, and he or she's going to take videos. Wouldn't it be cool being the first, I don't know, the first, second, third, whatever, female bass tournament champion? I don't know that there is or isn't. Or maybe you're interested in photography, or maybe like you have a knack for creating and you want to write some books. So find a passion that you're interested in and become good at it and monetize it. And what you're going to find out is what I have found out. All those assets I accumulated earlier, I don't need them. I've got an income that is providing my needs for everything I need. And it's creating me, through the limited liability corporation, the ability to take some of the travel that I engage in relative to my LLC and write it off as a business expense. And I take my wife along with me because I need somebody to help me set up the camera as I go to Nashville to meet with Steve within the next couple of weeks, who is a piano player for a country western singer, and he is an independent contractor, and he's about 59, and he wants to retire. He does have some real estate investment property, but he wants to talk about how should I approach the rest of my working years and my retirement, and what should I do it? And as he said to me on the phone this morning, this pandemic, which basically meant that we couldn't get on the road and do our music gigs, and I had no income, got me interested in YouTube, got me interested in investing, and now that's becoming a part of my retirement. And Carrie, I need to know, should I put it in a 401k? Should I? And I'm going to ask Steve, do you have an LLC that you're working this business through? where rather than having a IRA, whether it's a Roth or a traditional, and you can only put $6,000 a year in, you can set up, if you have an LLC, a solo 401k, and now you can put in a percentage of your earnings all the way up to $56,000 a year. So that's a video I'm going to do with Steve in the next couple months or weeks. And Nita and I will take a trip up to Nashville, and we'll stay overnight, and we'll probably go to the Bluebird Cafe, and we might even go to the Grand Ole Opry, whatever Steve points us in the direction of, and we'll eat some good food, and I'll drink some good bourbon. And guess what? It's all going to be a business expense. And it's all going, then I'll put the video up and you'll watch it, and YouTube will sell advertising against it, and they'll send me a check for that advertising. And I'm living a good retirement, making money and enjoying myself at the expense of my company and my tax write-offs. So to answer the first question, what does it take to live in retirement for the 19.4 years that the government says you're going to live in retirement? It depends. But hopefully that gives you some guidelines, some understanding. And again, in a prior video, I said, create an Excel spreadsheet of item by item what it costs you to live a month and a year today. And come up with that number so that if you call me up and say, Kerry, I have a question about retirement, and I ask you the question, what does it cost you to live in 2021? And what did it cost you to live in 2020? Yeah. And then you can answer that question for yourself. You can figure it out. And then plan on how you're going to supplement your life. I have friends who basically just go to the gym and travel for weddings or funerals, and don't really have any excitement in their life. I flew up to Boston, Massachusetts, and met with some young people who run a hedge fund, and I created a memory that was priceless. I learned a lot, too, from these people. And that's what retirement should be about. I think too many of you think, well, I'm going to quit. No, don't quit. Start over. Find your passion. Again, if you've seen my other videos, I paint. I want a Picasso in my house, so I've got 2 Picassos. I painted them. I taught myself to paint. I want some photography, so I taught myself to learn photography. I write books. I publish them on Amazon and Kindle, and I get a monthly royalty check off of it. So the best part of my life are going to be the last part of my life. Maybe not the last 2 years or last 6 months, but this part of my life. I'm 76 years old. I just spent 17 hours going to Boston and back, and I had the time of my life. Met some fantastic people, learned something. And the other thing I would tell you, read. If you can't read, don't like reading, sign up for Audible. There's a link down here below. And there's some in the description. There's some books I think you should read. I think it is a crying shame if I said, "Do you read?" and you said, "Yeah." I said, "When was the last time you read a nonfiction book?" and you said, "My senior year in college or high school." Shame on you. There's so much more to learn, and do it in retirement. Okay. I'll talk to you again tomorrow when one of you asked me a question in the description that says, yeah, there's more people who want to know about that. Just like there's a lot of you who want to know, how much do I need to live out my retirement? And don't really focus on that number. How much do I would rather you ask the question, how much can I leave to my heirs so that I make a difference in their life and so that my life had meaning while I was here? That's the question I want you to ask yourself.